Hello crafty friends, this wasn't going to be a video. I'm actually creating some index cards that I'm going to sell in my Etsy shop, but I thought that I will just video the process and share that with you. I'm going to start with the Dilutions shimmer paint in the color Calypso Teal. It has a beautiful pearlescent finish and I really love working with this acrylic paint. So I've laid out some of my index cards just randomly on top of my desk. The one side of them is lined, I'm using the blank side. And then I've watered down the acrylic paint in my palette. And then I'm just using my paintbrush to just splash it randomly over all the index cards. I then use a wet paintbrush and just go over the paint droplets and spread them out. Not very controlled, just let the paint do its own thing. Just help it along to flow over the paper. I do recommend also spraying quite a bit of water over the entire surface of each card. This just helps with the paint flow and just getting everything quite liquid and giving it a good movement on the cardstock. The idea with these cards is just to work intuitively and very quickly. You don't want to plan too much what you're doing or where you're placing things. You're just going to work very fluidly and just let the colors and the movements of the brush or the pencil happen. I think this is a really good exercise just to relax and to get your creative juices flowing. I think it worked really great for these index cards and you'll see the final result shortly at the end of the video. A good tip is to dry each layer well before you add the next color. This will prevent the colors mixing together and becoming muddy. Next, I'm using some black ink. This is just a very inexpensive ink that I got from Kmart. It's meant to be used for like fountain pens, but I'm going to use it just to splash over my index cards. I'm doing the same method as I did with the shimmer paint. I'm just splashing it over and then I'm going to add some water and just let it run and smear. And then I press the cards together face to face so that the colors sort of spread and go onto each other. I think it makes some beautiful patterns. Any excess ink or paint that has really big puddles, I do use a piece of paper from an old book just to press onto that and then it lifts the color onto that, which can then be used for another project. I will show you what I'll do with those in a later video. But don't waste any inks or paints. Use other pieces of scraps or other bits of paper to lap up all the beautiful color or ink or paint and use that for other projects. I'm now using the color white linen in the Dilutions ink spray and also just randomly splashing it over and then using my scrap paper again to lift up any excess puddles. These are almost larger versions of my happy scraps. I'm now going to add some stenciling just for some definition. These beautiful stencils are available from PM Artist Studio. I'll put a link to their website in the description box below. I'm going to use the Stress ink for this and I'm going to apply it with my applicator. The color I'm using is called Mermaid Lagoon. Again, we're not going to be covering the whole face of each card with the whole stencil. We're going to do sections of it. Some are going to have 2 circles, some are going to have 3. It's quite random and just very haphazard. It's not planned. Just place the stencil down and start stenciling. Try not to think about it too much. If you love junk journals and mixed media, I invite you to join my group on Facebook. I'll put a link in the description below, but it's called Junk Journal and Mixed Media Tutorials. Because I love stenciling and I love the designs that come up, I'm going to do some more stenciling with a different design. And this time I'm going to use a sponge and some white gesso. I think this will create a good contrast. This one came out a little bit thick, so I just wipe it off quickly before it dries and try again. I'm using a black watercolor pencil. I'm dipping the point into some water, and then I'm doing some random designs, some circles and scribbles and squiggles, anything you like. Just do it randomly, just do it really quickly, and again, don't think about it. I have found that using a longer pencil and holding the pencil near the end, the top end of the pencil, gives you more of a free flow, and the pencil's not quite as controlled, so you get more loose and free flow type of drawings, scribbles and doodles. You can add as many or as few layers of paint and color as you like. I'm now adding a darker turquoise in an acrylic paint that is just with some paint marking using my paintbrush, just dipping the paintbrush into the paint as thick as it comes out of the tube and just making some marks onto the paper randomly and freely. I was going to try the same with the white gesso, but it wasn't quite dark enough. It was a bit too transparent and I didn't like that. So then I tried to mix some of the turquoise with the white to make it a lighter turquoise, and then I used my dotting tool and try to make some dots. Again, just experiment whatever you have, try and use it, see if it works. There's really no right and wrong. It's about experimenting and having lots of fun. I'm also going to try some grey colour. I just have grey acrylic paint and I've added some gesso to this too, just to lighten it up a bit. And then I'm also making some markings onto some of the cards with this grey. Like I said, it is about experimenting. And the next thing I wanted to try was using my Ken Oliver Color Burst powders. I just put some into my palette, a bit of the powder of the turquoise powder in the palette, and added some water, and then wanted to do some splattering. But now the color is so concentrated that when you splatter it on, it looks almost black. It doesn't really have the effect that I wanted or is transparent enough. So I just use a tissue to dab it up. And the nice thing is, and difficult to see from this distance from the video, I will show you in the close-up later, when I dabbed it with the tissue, the color stayed behind in a splash shape and the wetness did lift up. So it really did work, and leaving the color behind and leaving some nice designs. To frame these off, I'm going to do some stitching with my sewing machine. I'm just doing a running stitch all the way around using black thread, and then doing my bunching method just to create a bit of texture and interest all around the card. If you'd like to see how I do the bunching technique with the thread, I will put the tutorial video of that in the description box below. After all the cards have had their stitching done, I now want to add a little bit of a focal point. I'm just going to do a very simple sentiment on a black background. So I have a piece of black cardstock that I'm just going to rip into little strips that are big enough for the sentiment, and I'm going to place that sort of on the bottom right hand corner of each card. My sentiment is a white sticker with black writing. Very simple, but I think very effective. And I'm just going to stick that down with some craft glue in a similar position on each card. Each one though has got a different sentiment, and the shape of the black cardstock underneath is slightly different from each one because it's hand torn. I seem to have missed recording one part of the video where I added some silver leaf on the cards. So I just put a little bit of a glue stick, just little dots here and there, and then pressed a silver leaf on top. And it leaves a beautiful metallic, super shiny surface, which I really, really like, and just gives it a little bit of zhuzh, I think. Here is a close-up of one of the cards so you can see all the detail, the silver leaf, and all the beautiful textures and tones and contrasts. I really hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed watching me mass make a whole lot of little items for my Etsy shop. These will be available for sale. I'll put a link to my Etsy shop in the description box below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. Please don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you again soon. Bye.